the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberty or democratic process. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
And with that, we're back again. Welcome to Radio Free Canada. It is a great Monday. We are here with the music. We're here with the attitude. In fact, we're here with Red Pill Radio just for you on Monday, October the 15th, 2012.
Yes, we've sharpened up our mocking wit for Mock Harper Mondays. And the boys have been busy just giving us as much ammunition as we could want.
Possibly the easiest job in the internet world, mocking Stephen Harper and the conservatives driving us into the ground is what we're doing today. But we got to do the boring legal part first. First of all, everything that you're about to hear is our opinion and only our opinion.
And everything we say is protected under Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Of course, we are going to be bringing you media as described under international fair usage copyright law. Why? Because somebody's got to do it. Major News is not carrying stories about cures for cancer. Major News does not talk about banks not paying taxes. We're here to talk about it. Why? You need the information.
That's
and we
right.
are the winning team.
Yes, activists everywhere are waking up saying the way you're doing it is wrong.
Wrong.
And we do have the answers on how to run it right.
So you can continue going and listening to, well, financial experts getting on and explaining on why everything's got to go in the toilet, or you can stick with us.
See, when you say experts, you got to do the air quotes thing again.
So if you are one of those people, if you're like an in-the-box thinker, okay?
If you think that locking up kids will keep them from committing crimes.
If you think that banks should continue not paying income tax.
If you think Walmart should continue to profit off of slave labor.
If you think McDonald's is a restaurant.
Or that CHBC is a news,
then stop listening now. Please stop listening. Don't get onto our Facebook wall and say that we suck. We realize you think we suck. Continue being greedy. Be selfish. Ignore your fellow man. We are not those kinds of people. We step up. We realize there is responsible, intelligent people everywhere, and that's why we're doing this broadcast. This is Radio Free Canada, and on the show today, oh my goodness.
Oh, we're going to be talking about how well cutting back safety inspectors worked out for XL Foods again.
Those austerity measures are working so well for the Harper government. We're also going to be talking about Israel and the elephant in the room.
Exactly.
That's going to be on the subject matter here because it is polite to talk about religion and politics. And, of course, we're going to be talking about a Nobel Peace Prize gone astray.
I want to know who gets the money on that.
How did Obama get a Nobel Peace Prize?
How did the EU get a Nobel Peace Prize?
We're going to be talking about that, vets and others protesting, a big protest in Pakistan. Thailand suing Shell for a major oil spill. I'll bet you didn't hear about that one. That one was ignored by Major News altogether. We've got the story right here. So we got to get things underway. Hey, let's start things off with a really good smile. If you've been living under a rock, maybe you don't know who XL Foods is. Well, let's talk about your beef.
Are you looking to add some zest to your possibly contaminated meat? Well, then try Ritz, Memories of Something I Should Have Mentioned sauce. The folks here at Ritz make Memories of Something I Should Have Mentioned sauce the modern way, with less oversight and fewer inspectors. Each batch of Memories of Something I Should Have Mentioned sauce is then individually aged for 2 weeks before we let anyone hear about it. It's what gives it that incidental sort of, oops, slipped my mind flavor. That's the delicious taste of doing nothing. In this hectic world of rush, 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 or hey, there's an emergency here, or watch out, that's hot. Aren't you glad that the folks at Ritz still remember what Oh, right, there's something I forgot to tell you. Still means.
Ritz Memories of Something I Should Have Mentioned sauce. The mustache on the label is your guarantee. Actually, there is no guarantee.
One of the best reasons to wake up and look forward to work on Monday morning, and I can't believe I actually said that.
I can't either. I always look forward to Wednesday morning after Rick's clips have been uploaded, so we can view them.
Make sure you get informed. Get on our Facebook wall. Share our YouTube videos. We're not here to be popular. We're here to help the change go along. So go ahead. You know what? We're going to make a shout out to CHBC and AM 1150 right now. We're urging the editors to continue making commercials saying, trust us, because we need you to reveal who you are and what you are about.
Yeah, of course. Just keep telling us misinformation.
Yeah, I know. Keep ignoring cures for cancer. We know. It's important to ignore real innovation, but that's why we're here. Stay tuned. Coming up in the next 2 hours, the fastest 2 hours of news, because we've siphoned through the Justin Bieber. We've gotten rid of talking about sports as if it's news, and we are here to inform you, to help the conscious revolution go on. So stay tuned. Hang in. Strap yourself in, baby. It's Radio Free Canada. 4,000 horsepower of amazing music and information. Just because. Okay, let's take a quick break. We've got networks from one end of the country to the other. People are rebroadcasting us, so make sure, go ahead, rebroadcast what we got. If it's not for monetary gain, go right ahead. We believe in sharing. So we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we're going to be right back. What are we going to talk about right away?
We're going to be talking about the union trouble with the XTC Foods.
Wow, union troubles. You got to believe it, man. Holy smokes! Hey, did I mention I do not agree with Stephen Harper shutting down all the unions?
Might as well go for a soda. Nobody hurts and nobody cries. Might as well go for a soda. Nobody drowns and nobody dies.
Sing it. Okay, everybody, clap your hands in the back.
Might as well go for a soda. Nobody drowns and nobody dies.
You know you're partying when. Woohoo!
Might as well go for a soda. It's better than slander.
Oh, Kim Mitchell right here. Welcome to the show. It's Radio Free Canada.
Might as well go for a soda.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I mean, you get up on a Monday and you're just like, yeah, rock my world, man.
I just hope Mr. Harper's going for a soda, drinking lots of aspartame-laced soda.
Yes, we remind you, okay, with the aspartame and all of the stuff that's out there about it, send your Harperite aspartame, like some gum.
Send him a truckload.
Yeah, a truckload of gum, because all gum has aspartame in it. It's probably a bad thing. But, I'm not saying send him, like, GMO foods.
No,
I'm not saying that.
because I don't think they eat GMOs. They probably have their own chefs and food prepared so they don't have to eat the stuff that us peasants have to eat.
The funniest story was, and if you're not aware of GMOs, genetically modified organisms are something the Monsanto Corporation created. They're causing problems. They cause cancer. France, everybody's banned them except the States and Canada. It's kind of weird. But I mean, they won't even serve GMO foods in their own cafeteria at Monsanto.
They're banned from their own cafeteria. So that should make you go,
Talking about other demands that are out there right now, let's get right into it, because I want to start talking about unions. So
Okay, well, apparently there's some problems in Alberta with the beef plants.
There's a confusing picture emerging tonight about where things stand with XL Foods. The company wants the plant reopened, saying all the problems that led to E. coli contamination there have been cleaned up. But the union isn't so sure about that, and it wants a public inquiry into the beef recall. The union says neither XL nor the Canadian Food Inspection Agency can be trusted to stop a similar situation from happening again. Global National's Francis Silvaggio is in Brooks, Alberta for us tonight. Francis?
Well, Donna, the union that represents the 2,200 workers of XL Foods did just hold their news conference here in town. The plant is actually just west of the community, but this is where everyone pretty much lives, as well as hundreds of others who work for companies and businesses that support the massive meat operation. Now, according to the union, pretty much everyone who worked in and just for the company knew of all the problems that the CFIA has pointed out as possible causes for the E. coli outbreak that started back in early September. The problem, at least according to the union, is that without whistleblower legislation, everyone was just too afraid to come forward.
You can replace all the aluminum, all the stainless steel you want at the plant, but if you don't give your workers the tool to perform the job properly, we're not going to solve this problem. So Lakeside, you got one chance to get this correct. We think you've had the opportunity now. We understand you're spending lots of money, but you're still not listening to the people who are the most important in your food safety, the workers who are doing the job.
Now, up till now, the union says the company has refused to meet with members to address concerns, so it is demanding a full public inquiry separate from the ongoing investigation, saying that it was company and government policies that led to the problems in the first place, so neither can be trusted to investigate or solve the problems themselves. Donna?
Francis, given all this, is there any indication when the plant will reopen?
Well, that continues to be the ongoing question. As we mentioned yesterday, some employees have already started applying for EI benefits because they're not sure how long this is going to go on. We have been told that the company has agreed to pay employees 32 hours for the first week of closure. Not sure what's going to happen going forward. We also know that inspectors were on scene doing a big review of a number of changes the company says it has done to address CFIA concerns. Those happened yesterday. That review was sent to head office in Ottawa last night, and that is now currently being reviewed. Donna?
Okay, still not the end of the story. Francis Silvaggio in Brooks, Alberta. Thanks.
Talking about not the end of the story. Okay, but the big shocking thing that came out of this, and talking about what we do, why we do this, is because we reveal facts that major media doesn't want us to cover.
Exactly. They didn't talk about the whistleblower thing very much there, did they?
No, there's no legislation in there. XL Foods out of Alberta, 5,000 cows a day. Okay, go in there. The meat inspectors have about 30 seconds to inspect every cow that comes out. Okay, and no whistleblower.
No, because you won't be protected. The company will take retaliation against you.
And then the big question was, where is XL Foods? Where did these guys come from? And why are they handling 1/3 of all the beef amongst 30 million people?
Well, it is causing an economic impact to the livelihoods of the people that work in that plant, that's for sure.
And then how could the Harper government cut back on these guys? This one kind of blows me away. Why? Because, of course, there is austerity. And,
self-regulation works out so well. Just ask the financial industry how well that's working out. It's working out pretty good for them.
In the next hour, we're going to carry our rant from Rick Mercer about the XL Foods and the fact that well, maybe there just isn't enough time for those workers to inspect things. But you've got a huge plant where they've cut down, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Thank you, of course, CBC, for keeping Rick Mercer on the air.
Oh, because we really need Rick. I mean, at least he is able to call an elephant an elephant.
Yes, I know. And there is an elephant in the room. We will be talking about that a little bit later, too.
Yes,
coming up right now, we are mocking Stephen Harper because I've never seen a prime minister drive a country into the ground faster. Okay? Hijack the conservative mentality, hijack the Conservative Party, and uses it for his own Decepticon means.
I know. And, of course, all in the name of economic progress, he's trying to give away our infrastructure, our essential industries to foreign corporations.
Yeah, I know. The foreign corporations and foreign countries wanting to take over Canada couldn't have a better ally. You make up your mind, though. Don't take our word for it.
Let's Canada is open for business and interest from China is welcomed. But Canada's spy agency says there's something else Canada has to consider about China: spies and the damage they can cause. The CBC's Greg Weston has been looking into all of this for us. Greg.
Wendy, sources tell CBC News that Canada's intelligence service is privately warning the country's top corporate executives their companies may be the target of Chinese cyber spies. A former high-ranking CSIS agent says there's no maybe about it.
Would I be surprised if CSIS is engaged in dialogue with particular companies about a certain threat? Absolutely not. I think it's essential to get the job done.
Boisvert says economic espionage has reemerged as one of the most important threats.
It's on parallel, in my estimation, with terrorism, and it's one that has very long-term impact on Canadian national interests.
CSIS is doing more than having closed-door meetings with executives. In its latest report to Parliament, the agency warns cyber operations targeting Canada will likely persist in the foreseeable future. The report says Canadian corporate and government computers are being attacked on a daily basis. It also highlights the most serious Chinese cyber attack on Canada. Hackers stole corporate secrets related to the attempted takeover of Saskatchewan's Potash Corp. The attack penetrated several major corporations and some of Canada's largest law firms. It also forced 3 entire federal departments to shut down their computer systems. 2 years later, they are still not back to normal. In spite of it all, the Harper government is now rolling out the red carpet for Huawei, a Chinese telecommunications giant. Huawei is building new networks for Bell, Telus, Wind Mobile, and most recently SaskTel. There's even talk Huawei may help build a new secure telecom system for the federal government. The same network crippled by cyber attacks 2 years ago. The government recently gave itself the power to prevent foreign companies from even bidding on the multi-billion-dollar project. But in a prepared statement, Huawei says, Huawei is fully incorporated in Canada and operates as a subsidiary Canadian company. This alone effectively enables us to bid. In the United States, it's a whole different story. China is seen as a clear and present danger.
They steal our technology. They hack into our computers. They also steal our know-how.
That the statements you will make to this committee will be the truth, the whole truth.
Huawei has been locked out of major U.S. telecom projects and is under congressional scrutiny.
We must get to the truth and see if these companies are tied to or influenced by the Chinese government.
The committee's influential chairman says Huawei's growing presence in Canada could come back to bite the U.S.
We're so intertwined, that problem gets exported to whoever Canada has a relationship with.
Canada's former Deputy Chief of Intelligence is even more blunt about the danger of cyber spying.
Pay attention to this issue. It's going to bite. It's going to hurt a lot of people, a lot of industries, and a lot of government interests. And it's happening now.
The Americans aren't the only ones giving a cold shoulder to Huawei. Last year, Australia banned the Chinese company from even bidding on a $5 billion telecom project there. The reason? National security.
But they're just another, Australia is just another crown Commonwealth country. I mean, they sit behind the same propaganda. And I'm really getting offended, okay, at the way that they say the Chinese do this. Yeah. It is not the Chinese. It's a couple fanatical leaders at the top.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't group all the Chinese together into one banner headline like that.
The thing is, why should we give them control of our infrastructure like this, though?
And we could do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, they're outsourcing to China because slave labor rules in China, and apparently, well, Canadian jobs drool.
Well, yeah, because, the Chinese can do it much cheaper and more efficiently than Canadians can.
And there couldn't possibly be a conflict of interest.
Oh, no. No.
That's never going to happen. We're going to take a break for 2 minutes right here. We are continuing with the Conscious Revolution. Thanks for joining the winning team. You are with it.
Where the river broke, the bloodwood and the desert oak, holding wrecks and boiling diesels, steaming 45 degrees. The time has come to save fair's fair, to pay the rent, to pay our share. The time has come, a fact's a fact, it belongs to them, let's give it back. How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? How can we dance when our earth is turning? How do we sleep while our beds are burning? Time has come to save fair's fair, to pay the rent now, to pay our share. Before we'll scare the cockatoos from Kentar East to yonder Moo, the western desert lives and breathes in 45 degrees. The time has come to save fair's fair, to pay the rent.
Music right there. Beds are burning as we stay with our theme of
What's going on?
Kim Mitchell started things off with a great song about Vietnam, and we should just go for a soda. Beds are burning, obviously, talking about the Aboriginal problems. Make sure you get on the lyrics and check out what they're talking about.
Yeah, because actually things can be said in music. They can't always be said out loud, especially on the media.
One of the most amazing bands in the top 40 right now, and not that I ever talk about the entertainment industry that much around here, but the band called Fun. F-U-N.
Really?
And they've got this phenomenal video out right now, and I just, Some Nights is the name of it. And it's got one of those amazing things, but the Celtic sound, that wicked get up on the dance floor and go out and really shake things up.
Really gets to the warrior within.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hi there, and talking about who we are, we didn't even mention who the heck we are. We started off the show, and it's just like, hey, hi, how are we doing?
Well,
I'm doing fine.
We just figure everybody knows who we are.
Yeah, well, if you're tuned into the radio and it says it's Darren Howard and Robert Nisbet, we're trying to say, that's who we are. Hi, I'm Darren Howard.
Hello, I'm Robert Nisbet.
Isn't that easy? There we go. Now we've officially introduced ourselves, and feel free to, Photoshop our pictures and put us in with famous people.
By the way, you can like us, share us, and rate us on Facebook, and please comment on our YouTube channel.
Yep, we've got people on YouTube. Thanks a lot to our new friends from Reddit, reddit.com, for making sure that we've got information out there. And hi to our friends from WTPN in New York City. One of my favorite cities. You know why?
Really.
I've never been there, but they have great Apple,
they got
posters.
a lot of cops, though. Way too many cops, in my opinion.
Actually, one of the mayors referred to the New York Police Department as one of the largest standing armies on the planet.
I think Mayor Bloomberg calls it his own private army.
Yeah, kind of weird.
No delusions of megalomania there or anything.
No, there's no delusions there. Just before the break, we're talking about XL Foods. Of course, Stephen Harper doing his best to smash unions no matter where they stand right here in Canada. And we're going to be talking more about unions in the show coming up on Friday when we start talking about some innovations. But there's been a huge reaction okay, over XL Foods. Information, data is coming out. And then
there's selling off our telecom industry to the Chinese.
That's right. Okay, so that one came up. And then we're talking about the Chinese.
The Chinese. And the U.S. has had a reaction to us trying to sell off our telecom to them. And, of course, our government had a response.
Do you think anybody noticed that? I don't think anybody.
The head of a U.S. intelligence committee has a warning for Canada. Doing business with China's two leading tech companies may pose a threat to national security. But one of those companies, including in the U.S. report, Huawei, is already providing services to some big names in the Canadian telecom industry. Shirley Engel reports on whether Canada should think about pulling the plug on future mergers.
You may not have heard of Huawei, but the Chinese telecom giant has penetrated the Canadian market through several companies like Bell, Telus, SaskTel, and Wind. Though the U.S. Intelligence Committee just warned American telecoms to steer clear of doing business with Huawei for national security reasons, Ontario's premier made it clear today whose advice he relies on.
We secured an expansion of an existing investment in Ontario that's created, I think, a few hundred jobs. Those jobs are very important to us. If at some point in time authorities within the federal government believe that they have real concerns, then I expect that they will raise those with us.
Chinese companies have deep pockets and a big appetite for North American consumers, but investment could come at a price, the U.S. report warns. China has the means, opportunity, and motive to use telecommunications companies for malicious purposes. The news was dismissed in China as baseless. There's no proof Huawei has actually spied on anyone. But the company has already been banned in Australia, and the U.S. report has prompted the UK to consider its own investigation.
Canada's the outlier in this decision.
This expert says it would be easy for Huawei to do damage here.
Whoever owns the network boxes owns the system. They don't even have to break into the computers. They can just watch all the traffic come by, the email, the files, and so on, and see absolutely everything.
The Canadian government plans to award a contract for a high-security telecom system by next spring to replace a system destroyed by Chinese hackers in 2010. But the rules have been tightened to make it harder for a company like Huawei to bid.
This should be a question of consultation. They're doing that in the United States. They're doing it in Australia. The only country that's not consulting widely and looking into this in an in-depth way is Canada. And for us, that's not acceptable.
In a statement, the public safety minister avoided any direct mention of Huawei, telling us a cybersecurity strategy was developed to help keep sensitive information about governments and citizens safe. But the Tories also believe in promoting competition in the wireless sector, leading to more choice and lower prices for consumers. Donna?
Shirley Engel in Ottawa. Thanks, Shirley.
What else does the public safety minister believe in?
Exactly what do these guys believe in? If you take a look at smart meters and GMOs, you know public safety is the last thing that's on the concern of anybody in the government.
Oh, but don't you know, Vic Taves believes in touching little girls.
Yes, I know. I mean, just remember that. And there's another thing that major news will not talk about. Yes, Vic Taves got his 17-year-old babysitter pregnant.
But just to recap what we heard Dalton McGuinty, the Premier of Ontario, saying we will listen to experts on this matter of national security. And it's, hello, isn't CSIS kind of raising alarms about this situation?
But they're not listening to the corporation. They're listening, they're ignoring CSIS, but they listen to the corporation.
Because corporations have our best interests at heart,
Yeah, like the accountants that back them up. Yeah. I mean, that's why chartered accountants have to take out such big ads, okay? And you've seen that on TV. Let's talk about elsewhere in the news.
Well, yes. We know that China's also bidding on our oil fields and Nexen, the big energy giant.
Oh, yes.
But just for a little comic relief, we have just a little headline from our friend, Mr. Mercer.
The oil sands industry has announced a plan to deal with the toxic waste left behind in their mines. It's a complicated process. Step 1, fill the abandoned mine with water. Step 2, leave. They claim the toxic material will stay on the bottom and a thriving biological utopia will bloom on top. Or it will bore a hole to the center of the earth. Either way.
And that's just a little comment on industry regulating itself.
Because, industry is so good at regulating itself, don't you know? Also in the news, and the major news isn't really analyzing, is CNOOC, CNOOC. Okay, so look it up on your search engines. Question us, because we're not going to take out ads saying trust us. But this is interesting stuff.
This is the Chinese national offshore oil company who are bidding on one of our huge energy companies here in Canada. And, of course, we're open for business.
Yes.
Sinclair Stevens, a lawyer, businessman, and former politician, spoke to NTD about the potential sale of Nexen to the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, where he said the sale is not within the spirit of the Investment Canada Act and that it jeopardizes Canadian sovereignty. Nexen is a Canadian energy giant that has developed oil sands properties in Alberta. China National Offshore Oil Corporation, or CNOOC, is a state-owned enterprise that has offered $15 billion to purchase Nexen. Shareholders have approved the deal. Now it all comes down to whether the federal government will approve it, based on a vague rule as to whether there's a net benefit to Canada. Mr. Stevens pointed out the sale of Nexen to CNOOC is not the same as selling to a regular company.
You can't challenge the government of China the way you could challenge Exxon, for example, or Shell. They're creatures of government, either in the Canadian sense or the American sense. But another government, it's sovereign, just as we're sovereign. And what I think people are underestimating, when you give up your sovereignty on a certain asset, that is a very negative thing that you shouldn't ever countenance. And in the case of the Investment Canada Act, when we passed it, it was understood that crown corporations in a foreign country, a state-owned corporation in a foreign country, would not be eligible to buy certainly a majority interest in a Canadian asset.
Mr. Stevens said the problem is a long-term one when we're given too much to short-term thinking.
The danger in China is so obvious. They have over 1 billion people. They're going to be in great need for energy as the decades roll out. And to have a deal where you, in the year 2012, sell them at today's price something that they may benefit from 10, 20, 30 years down the road, it's just irresponsible. Because they don't have to follow a market value as to what the oil and gas is worth. And if they buy it into China at a comparatively low figure compared to what the market is at that time, the royalties that we're supposed to be getting get affected.
Net benefit to Canada needs to factor in long-term consequences of the sale of a resource to a foreign government. It's questionable whether CNOOC operates in the same way as other international oil companies like Exxon and Shell, simply because it is a state-owned enterprise. Its decisions can and will take into consideration the political needs of the Chinese government, meaning that the future price of CNOOC oil from a Canadian oil field can be sold at any price it decides.
So, okay, so there you go. The very simple way to look at the Nexen deal or any of these things is the Chinese government says that it has a company, and that company is buying up major Canadian resources at today's value that's going to benefit them for the next 50 years.
There's sure not a whole lot of net benefit for Canadians in this deal, as far as I can see.
And, we're getting sold out left, right, and center, okay? Unions have put out one major statement. We're trying to put pipelines to get rid of our crude when we should be building refineries. Now, if they were to build 2 green refineries to process our own tar sands oil at a reduced rate of speed, tough, deal with the lower profits, and then we would be putting 250,000 Canadians to work. Where is the government on this? Trying to put a pipeline through.
Of course, which isn't going to happen anyway. I mean, they're trying to put the cart before the horse all the time.
And it's amazing because when you do the math, 250,000 union jobs at refineries that process our own crude would spin off 1.2 million jobs we would have jobs for the next 20 years.
But don't you know, isn't the long-term prosperity of Canadians the Harper government's main concern? How can I say that with a straight face?
I don't know, man. You did really good, though.
I almost burst into flames.
I was
there,
impressed. Canadians are looking at nationalizing their oil services just like their oil resources just like major companies all the way around the world. They have gone to nationalize their oil. Let's take a look at this.
Canada has the third largest oil deposits in the world, but no state-owned oil company. And with the recent proposed takeover of Canadian oil giant Nexen by China's state oil company, Canuck, Canadians are beginning to question the status quo. In Canada, the oil industry is mostly dominated by foreign companies, but many Canadians wish the government would create a state-owned oil company. They believe that by controlling its natural resources, Canada will be able to alleviate its social problems, such as student debt and poverty.
And you think of all the billions of dollars which are generated by the sale of our natural resources. That could be used to provide free education at all levels, but it isn't at all, unfortunately. It really just goes in the hands of private corporations.
The Harper government opposes state ownership of resources. However, activists say this leaves Canadians shortchanged. In its recently published annual study, the non-profit organization, the Community Foundations of Canada, claims that student debt in Canada is averaging between $20,000 and $30,000. This despite the fact that Canada has a relatively small population and is highly rich in natural resources.
And we're sitting here allowing ourselves to be sold to offshore companies when we ourselves as Canadians have the resources to buy our own company and our own resources and maintain it and keep it as a state-owned company. The only way I can really put that is that Canada is a country and a democracy and not a commodity, and we will not be bought.
I think the best possible policy under current conditions would be full nationalization of all of our natural resources, especially for oil. It should be run by the state. Its profits should be used to aid the people.
An increasing number of Canadians are looking to countries with more enlightened oil policies like Venezuela and Iran, and wondering when Canada will emulate the preponderance of oil-producing nations and nationalize its resources. Joshua Blakeney, Press TV, Calgary.
When will Canada nationalize its resources?
When will the Harperites pull their heads out of their collective rear ends?
I don't think it's going to happen. He's a front man for the oil company like we've never seen. Of course, we're talking about our Decepticon leader, Mr. Stephen Harper. And the way they stole the last election through robocalls should point you into the direction of why they had to steal it. Because they had a purpose when they stole the election.
Yes, it's always nice to say you're in charge because you got 29% of the vote.
Yeah, only 29% of the people voted. Obviously, conservative values are not Canadian values. And, we got that one right on the money.
Well, I think we should vote for nobody because nobody tells the truth.
Yeah, I know. You know what? That would be a little bit more honest in the polling department. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about the Canadian human rights travesty that's going on right now. Remember, Canadians do not have human rights. We do want you to start taking a look at the residential school problems. We have a major documentary coming up on that. But right now, let's take a break. Off the B-sides on the Vinyl Vault, this is Radio Free Canada. Welcome to the revolution. Ah, yes, doing the major air guitar in the studio right here today. It's Radio Free Canada and, of course, Motley Crue.
And, of course, it's Mock Harper Mondays.
Yeah, so it's got that good taste being at work today.
Now, Harper's dealing with the Chinese government, and they have a deplorable human rights record.
Oh, my goodness. If you take a look, okay, one of the major reasons why there's a lack of job in your town anywhere is because of Walmart. Walmart, of course, profiting from Chinese slave labor. Why anybody shops at Walmart who's a Canadian or anybody, I don't know.
Oh, well, because, it's lower prices, so that lets you live better.
Oh, so that's, you live
Mind
better.
you, at the expense of other people.
Yeah, of course, okay. So no responsibility whatsoever within the Canadian business community, and we are waking people up around the world and around the city to the fact that you got to grow up and give Walmart a break. But you know what? It's human rights right here in Canada.
When he stands up and goes against Iran's human rights record, why doesn't he take a look at himself?
1 in 5 Canadian children go hungry. 300,000 Canadian homeless going into this winter. Not one story about it on CHBC. Not one story on AM 1150. Those guys are a joke. Okay, and honestly, major news ignoring starving children and putting on Justin Bieber. Okay, you're our news service? Come on.
Well, sponsors tend to drive the news, I guess. So.
Oh, well, don't point that out. Don't do those embarrassing facts things. Okay, don't point out the fact that they're just shills for corporations selling advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Canada's human rights track record is an abomination.
Yeah.
Worse than the Americans under Obama.
So once again, we have to go to foreign sources for people to actually talk about this stuff.
The United Nations slams Canada's child rights record and accuses Harper's government of, quote, serious and widespread discrimination. Canada recently passed a new law. Bill C-10 allows for harsher penalties for youth offenders and makes it easier for courts to judge them as adults. The UN says that Canada no longer conforms to its Child Rights Convention or any other international standards. UN authorities also indicted the Canadian government for discrimination against its Indigenous and black community. According to the report, a Canadian Aboriginal is more likely to be jailed than a graduate from high school. Many analysts say that under Stephen Harper's government, human rights abuses in Canada have increased dramatically. Well, from Vancouver, I'm joined by Alfred Lambremont. He's a human rights lawyer. Welcome to the programme, sir. Mr. Lambremont, we have Canada constantly accusing Iran of human rights violations. In the United Nations, it's been behind several resolutions against Iran. But is there anyone to question Canada's human rights violations?
Well, I can verify firsthand of Canada's genocide against its Indigenous population. And I say that because I've been a legal advisor to the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State, and specifically into the graves, the mass graves at the Aboriginal Residential School in Brampton, Ontario, where now there have come to light the remains of mass graves of First Nations children who were murdered as part of the residential school program. But what is more, that has been covered up by the current Harper administration, Harper government.
Indeed. And now, Mr. Lambremont, you speak of Canada's rights violations and the genocide, but how is the government of Canada perceived among Canadians themselves? How informed are they of their government's rights violations?
Well, the population here is highly polarized, and as more and more of these facts come to light, there is a greater segment of the population, I would say almost 3 to 1 now, that is against the Harper government. The problem is that we won't have an election here for several years, and Harper has abrogated parliamentary procedures, so he's functioning almost like a dictator.
Indeed.
So, so it's sort of like the U.S. during the Bush years, where Bush was able to fight a completely illegal and genocidal war in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And we have the same analogy here. But I think that the Canadian population are onto him, and the Vox Populi is turning against him by the day.
Indeed. Well, we'll have to leave it there for the time being. Many thanks to Alfred Rambamont-Weber, human rights lawyer from Vancouver. Thanks for your time there, sir.
Yes, we're on to you, Mr. Harper.
Everybody's waking up. This nonsense that's going on, it's the number one reason why we say democracy is a joke. It's because Stephen Harper is proving it. The omnibus crime bill, the omnibus budget that went through that totally savaged our legal and our environmental systems, 2 hits, and then derailed every union that there is on the planet.
Meanwhile, he's giving away corporate tax breaks to big corporations,
and refusing to make sure that banks pay income tax. Remember, under the Harper regime, and he spearheaded it, a campaign to prevent banks from paying tax. Talking about welfare. Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Every bank that you see on every corner in Canada is on corporate welfare right now. They benefit from all of the police, all of the infrastructure, the roads and everything, but the Canadian banks, the Royal Bank, do not pay income tax.
No, they don't.
And this is asinine, even to say the very least, with 1 in 5 Canadian children going hungry. Where's our rights?
We don't have many rights here left in Canada. I mean, we do have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms until they take it away.
I know. I'm looking forward to change here. Oh, well, democracy is a joke. There is an alternative, and that's why we're promoting alternative democracy right here in Canada. Iceland did it, and they survived just fine. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want you to get online and make sure you get informed about what's going on, question what we're talking about, but join the conscious revolution that's happening around the world. Remember, humans are made to be more than just a credit rating, and we do have solutions, and that involves you. More coming up.
Baby, don't understand why we can't just hold on to each other's hands. This time might be the last I fear, unless I make it all too clear. I need you so. Take these broken wings and learn to fly again, learn to live so free. When we hear the voices sing, the book of love will open up and let us in. Take these broken wings. Baby, I think tonight we can take what was wrong and make it right. I know that you're half of the flesh and blood that makes me whole. I need you so. So take these broken wings and learn to fly again, learn to live so free. And when we hear the voices sing, the book of love will open up and let us in.
Music right there to heal the world. Take those broken wings from Mr. Mister. Welcome back to the show. It's so good to be around and to know that people are waking up around the world to the nonsense that is getting hurled upon us.
I know.
About this being some kind of delusional democracy. I mean, we've got 50% unemployment with young people. We have Kellogg's being able to put GMOs into cornflakes without a label. And then we've got oil over everything.
Oh, I know, but doesn't that make everything taste so good?
But why isn't major media covering any of these stories? Why aren't they talking about cheap, effective cures for cancer? You know why. It's because they have no compassion and no morality, and we're going to say it out loud. Well, I love saying things like that out loud.
Things like that out loud. Didn't gas prices just go up over the weekend too?
Yeah. Okay. You know, and there's the great monopoly of gas prices not being covered by this. But Canada, okay, not our human rights. Okay.
Oh, but don't you know we're a champion of human rights? And didn't Harper just go to Africa and say something about that?
Yeah, I know that we're a champion for human rights. 1 in 5 Canadian children goes hungry. Banks don't pay taxes. We've got 300,000 homeless people. CHBC AM 1150 ignores it.
How does he speak with so much of a fork in his tongue?
How did our Decepticon leader can pull off amazing BS? Haven't you noticed that?
I have noticed
With
that.
a straight face, he says he's proud to be Canadian. He is the most angry, hateful Canadian I've ever seen. Of course, Stephen Harper is getting our big nod of fascism.
I think he's a clone of George W. and the Bush family.
Hey, we were starting a rumor that he's really a robot.
He's a gay robot clone?
You can't say that Harper is gay because I don't even think other guys find him attractive. But, of course, that doesn't make any difference on his perspective.
No, because, he can just order them to do whatever he wants.
Come on, let's get a clip in. We're in trouble.
We're digressing here.
Okay, let's digress. Let's look at this.
There is another human rights treaty body, the Committee on the Rights of the
A UN
Child,
committee has issued a withering indictment of the Harper government. They claim that the Harper government's controversial Bill C-10 makes it easier for youth to be tried as adults, describing it as excessively punitive. The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child deduced that the Harper government's Youth Criminal Justice Act is inconsistent with international laws preventing children from being prosecuted as adults. With crime rates in Canada at an all-time low, and with the Harper government funding the construction of US-style mega-prisons, analysts believe that the Harper government is seeking to railroad working class and Aboriginal youth into Canada's nascent prison industrial complex.
They are more likely to have negative situations and be put within the penal system. So that needs to be further studied, and the youth need to be supported, especially for future generations, so it's not repeated and so cyclical.
The UN committee also made reference to the mistreatment of Canadian child soldier Omar Khadr, as well as drawing attention to the fact that Aboriginal youth in Canada are more likely to end up in prison than graduate high school.
Rehabilitation, stuff like that. Just more help, offer more help, another chance instead of just sending them to jail and saying, you did your crime, now it's time to do the time. Kind of more of a, you did the crime, now we want to help you and change your life and maybe get you on the right track kind of thing.
They kind of make a big deal out of kids doing these things because they want to form them into, I don't know, people who conform with society and don't break the rules. So that's what they're trying to accomplish, but they kind of do it by severely punishing them.
I think we're becoming a little bit too harsh. Like, we're still youth, we're still learning, we're making mistakes. So like if they lightened up on those laws, maybe it'd be a better place to live here for youth.
The Harper government dismissed the committee's criticisms because one of its members happens to come from Syria, a country where the Canadian government is likewise impinging upon the lives of children by siding with terrorist armed gangs. Joshua Blakeney, Press TV.
Of course, the world
Calgary.
is watching, and who cares about his political spin? This dictator, Mr. Stephen Harper, has got to go.
He does have to go.
And it's just showing us how democracy is a joke in Canada. There's just no question about it whatsoever.
Well, it's a joke south of the border as well.
We're going to be making fun more of the border and politics in North America as a whole. So we got a reason to smile just before the 1 hour break. Let's do this.
Are you suddenly feeling nervous, enraged, and excitable?
Are your feelings that others are out to get you increasing exponentially?
Feeling confused and disoriented as to why 30 million additional Americans should be insured?
Then it's time you asked your doctor about Republibliss. With its powerful combination of conspiracy, libertarianism, and imagination, you'll feel confident and self-assured in no time.
Go ahead. Get back to living your life and doing the things you really enjoy.
Republibliss blocks any of your vestigial concern for the poor or uninsured and replaces it with a love of insurance company profits.
Republibliss releases a powerful neural attractant, drawing you to like-minded free market thinkers
who know that if we use enough of Republibliss's patented magical pixie dust, insurers and pharmaceutical companies will make everything all right.
And until then, Republibliss frees you from painful facts with a fast-acting numerical truthless formula.
Because you don't need health coverage for your child with a pre-existing condition, reasonable premiums, a lower deficit, and an insurance company that sticks with you when you get sick.
You need Republibliss, your patented conservative formula for an imaginary problem that will magically disappear. Extensive clinical trials have shown that long-term, short-term, or any-term use of Republibliss will kill you or those around you.
Talk to your doctor about Republibliss today.
Man, I am so glad to be at work today. We're learning all kinds of interesting things, and coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking about more interesting stuff. We're going to be talking about a Nobel Peace Prize gone awry.
Oh, yes. We'll also be dealing with the presidential reality show.
I always love that reality show down there. It's like they think they're actually voting for someone. And, of course, we're going to be talking about Fukushima.
Oh, a major oopsie.
Oops. Oh, sorry. We do have the internet, and we are urging major editors for news stations across the world to get the internet. But we'll be bringing you more. Thanks for tuning in. This is Radio Free Canada. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet. We'll be back in a little bit.
There's a struggle unfolding just across the street, and we see the police now with their batons fighting back at the crowd as they were trying to make an arrest. This is an arrest that's been undergoing for a little while, but this man isn't relenting, and police have had a couple of hits at him. So this is what the Vancouver police.
Yeah, hi, Tony. Well, look, just have a look at this scene out here. I want to say it's almost post-apocalyptic, and that's really what it is. I mean, this is right out in front of the CBC Plaza. The police on horses came through.
But
that's right across from the library, Tony. And protesters are now trying to set that police car on fire. Protesters are now trying to set that police car on fire. Protesters are now trying to set that police car on fire. There don't seem to be enough officers to arrest all of the troublemakers at the moment as we see this developing situation unfold. We have confirmed reports that people are looting in certain shops in Vancouver. People are, there was an inquiry after the last riot. They made all kinds of changes, and they had a much different strategy tonight. And I don't know if there's anything the Vancouver police could have done to stop this, but they are clearly outnumbered by the people on the street who are causing so much trouble this evening. What I'm still waiting and trying to find out for you, Tony, is if there have been any serious injuries. What was a very big fire is those two police cars that these protesters just doggedly tried to set on fire. There it is. That these protesters just doggedly tried to set on fire. There it is. That these protesters just doggedly tried to set on fire. Protesters are now trying to set that police car on fire. And they are going to let fire crews come in and deal with situations like this. It's the reason we've seen these fires be lit and not put out, because they deemed it just not safe for fire and ambulance crews to come into the city. And they are going to let fire crews come in and deal with situations like this. It's the reason we've seen these fires be lit and not put out, because they deemed it just not safe for fire and ambulance crews to come into the city. Hundreds of 100,000 people who are on the street, and they are going to let fire crews come in and deal with situations like this. It's the reason we've seen these fires.
And with that, welcome back. It's good to have you back again. Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet. Welcome back to the second half of the two fastest 2 hours in talk radio.
You know it, this is Red Pill Radio. The revolution of consciousness has grabbed hold of the entire world. We're here to support you. We do not talk about Justin Bieber or sports like it's the news. This is the fastest 2-hour news talk radio show on the internet, and we are proud to be here to keep your day going.
But first, the boring legal stuff.
Yes, more boring legal stuff. Everything that you're about to hear is our opinion and only our opinion. Please do not go and jump off of a bridge when you hear what we're talking about.
And everything we talk about is protected under Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms until Stephen Harper turns that into toilet paper.
And, of course, we're presenting media as protected under international fair usage copyright law. Why? Because we got to make sure our legal butts are covered. There is a revolution going on. They're doing their best to shut down the internet all over, but we're here to stand against it. Why? Because someone's got to do what's right.
Someone has to, because, you know, we can't leave it all up to Alex Jones and James Corbett and the people at RT.
So remember, this is out-of-the-box thinking. This is not your regular radio show. So if you're one of those people who believes that Walmart should continue profiting from Chinese slave labor,
if you think banks should continue making up money out of nowhere and not paying taxes,
if you think that Monsanto should continue to get away with not labeling GMOs,
or selling off our utilities to transnational corporations, it's a good idea.
If you believe McDonald's is a restaurant,
or that CHBC is a news,
then stop listening now. Please stop listening. Don't stay on our internet channel whatsoever, because you've got Global, you've got CHBC, you've got AM 1150 to spoon feed you all of the schlock and pap that there is in the internet universe. We, however, are not those kinds of people. We believe that you should stand up for the 1 in 5 children that goes hungry in Canada today. We believe you should stand up for 300,000 homeless in Canada who are facing a long, cold winter.
Or the 30 or 40,000 people that die every day from starvation because there's not enough food.
Well, we're here, we're part of it, and we got you. Make sure you stay tuned. We're going to be talking about some of those stories that major news does not want us to talk about, and the weather, too. Ah, yes, we don't usually do this around here, but I think we need a weather report.
Well, you know, there's a lot of climate change deniers out there. Yeah. And let me tell you, climate change is real, but the solution they're proposing, that's a scam. Carbon tax is a scam to make Al Gore richer.
Make sure that you check on it. Carbon taxes don't work. Actually charging people for carbon pollution is ludicrous beyond belief. But
first, the weather.
Well, it's the Labor Day weekend. Last chance to lounge by that pool and wrap up your summer reading list. Pippa's standing by with the full forecast. Pippa, looks like that nice warm weather isn't quite ready to leave.
I don't know why you would imagine that it would. We've broken thousands of temperature records across the country and the planet this year. In fact, we're heading into the 329th consecutive month with a global temperature above the 20th century average.
Definitely time to light up that barbecue.
Yes, the barbecue.
Pippa, I think the folks at home are probably about ready for that 7-day forecast.
Okay, sure. Let's start up north, way up north. This week, satellites measured the smallest area of Arctic sea ice coverage in recorded history. That's 4 million square kilometers of ice missing since the 1980s. Where did it go? That's bigger than India. And it's happening so quickly, some researchers are now forecasting a summer with no ice in the Arctic Ocean within 10 years. So instead of a bright white sheet reflecting sunlight back into space, that means dark water sucking up even more heat, making it melt faster and faster. Most scientists prefer the friendlier term of feedback loop, but I'm more inclined to call it what it is, an inescapable death spiral.
I think there's a feedback loop in my earpiece, because I believe I just heard myself ask you for the weather report.
This is the weather report. This is what's happening. Scientists are telling us we can put 565 more gigatons of carbon into the atmosphere before global temperatures rise by 2 degrees, which is universally accepted as the threshold of total mayhem. Except if you add up the proven reserves of fossil fuels controlled by the world's energy companies, the oil and gas and coal we currently plan to burn, that amount is 5 times the safe limit. So if you think it's bad now, you just wait and see what hell we're going to unleash once we start drilling under the Arctic and digging up the tar sands so you can drive 3 blocks to get an ice cap. You think all of this extreme weather is a coincidence? You want the weather report? This is a reality report!
So all in all, a great Labor Day weekend and good times for the air conditioner industry.
Until the power goes out, you moron!
In other news, Chavril madness is sweeping the nation. Canada's royal couple of rock was spotted canoodling.
Oh man, we've got to do an update on that a little bit later. You know, it is. It's such a great day to be at work today. Make sure you join the change. Don't lose heart. Activism is working everywhere right now across the planet. They're winning against Monsanto. They're winning against pipelines.
And bankster bailouts as well.
You know what? Iceland threw its prime minister in jail. They're rounding up bankers with bounty hunters as we speak. There are solutions. There are ways to hold your government and corporations accountable, and we're here to talk about it.
That we are. But it's nice to know that our government is saving money on climate research while they are spending money on promoting government propaganda.
We've got so much propaganda in this country. We do apologize around the world for the way our government is acting on the international stage. Please do not judge the common citizen by the way its government behaves. It's not reality. Make sure you also take note of the way that racism works in the major news. They talk about China having spies as if Chinese people are supporting spies. This is racism, and the way racism works on the news, they say China issued spies. The common person didn't. Some fanatics in the government did.
Exactly. And of course, our fanatics in the government are making sure that any spies that are out there are getting access to whatever they need.
So make sure that you stand up, you get a sign, get off the couch, talk to your friends about it. It is polite to talk about politics and religion. That is one of the illusions that we're here to stop. This is Radio Free Canada. Welcome to the fastest 2 hours in talk radio. We got lots of reasons to smile, but we also have to take a quick break. Yes. Thanks to all of our friends in the internet world for rebroadcasting and starting up your own radio station, your own newspaper. We challenge you to make a sign and get out there. So, of course, you don't have to listen to us anymore.
Exactly.
That would be important. Let's play a quick song. We're going to take a quick break. Got to say a big shout out to our friends on Facebook right here with the second hour. Scott Logan, thanks for bringing us a whole bunch of cool stuff. Michael Alk, you're on the air. You know it. I want you to take a look at Lori Timball. She put some stuff on Facebook on our wall that's really cool. It's talking about those chemtrails right here in Kelowna. This is Radio Free Canada. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
When I was a young boy, sipping away those young boy ways. Now that I'm getting older, so much older, I long for those young boy days with a girl like you, with a girl like you. Lord knows there are things we can do, baby, just me and you. Come on and make it up. Hurt so good. Come on, baby, make it hurt so good. Sometimes love don't feel like it should, baby. Hurt so good. Don't have to be so exciting. Just trying to give myself a little bit of fun, yeah. You always look so inviting. You ain't as green as you are young. Hey, baby, it's you. Come on, girl, now it's you. Sink your teeth right through my bones, baby. Let's see what we can do. Come on and make it up. I hurt so good. Come on, baby, make it hurt so good. Sometimes love don't feel like it should. You make it hurt so good. I ain't talking no big deals. I ain't made no plans myself. I ain't talking no high heels. Maybe we could walk around all day long. Walk around.
Ah, yeah, doing that big air guitar in the studio just because we enjoy life. Remember, don't be crabby about everything. It's boring and people don't want to hang out anyways.
No, they don't like that. They like to be entertained and amused and informed.
Yes, infotainment is what it's all about, so we're going to bring you infotainment on a different scale. Infotainment with an intellect.
Well, our infotainment is more of a parody, I think, than...
Yeah, I know.
I like satire anyway. I think that's the highest form of comedy myself.
Absolutely. And of course, when we make fun of our robocall leader, Mr. Stephen Harper, we are following a long tradition of making fun of dictators and fascists everywhere.
Yes, because at least in this country, they won't chop off your head for that sort of thing.
I know, and I'm so happy about that. One thing, the major note that we didn't make in the last hour, of course, shout out to Homeland Security. Remember, we said the words bomb parts.
Oh, yes, and airplanes going down.
Yes. Oh, hey, that was a good one.
I like that one.
Train accident. Oh.
Yes. And remember,
ship sinking.
And remember, if you're flying at the Thanksgiving holiday down the States, make sure you take advantage of the opt-out and film program that InfoWars is promoting to curtail some of the tyrannical actions that the TSA is taking on American people.
You know, if you're flying, they're feeling up your junk, and there's no reason for it, because where you would hide plastic explosive is not where they can feel when they're feeling up your junk.
I think they are lacking some common sense in what is actually a terrorist because, you know.
I know, but remember, you have an 8 times more likelihood to be killed by a cop than to be killed by a terrorist.
Oh, yes. I mean, and if you guys want to know how bad the police issue is, just check out on Reddit's community, Bad Cop, No Donut.
Absolutely. Big shout out to all of our friends right across. We were talking about it. We were talking about what happens on Radio Free Canada and some of our friends that are on there. David Jones Cook also put out some awesome stuff on there about the law and the way definitions work.
Well, there's a big difference between the law and legal.
Yeah. And Harper's proven that one. You can legally break the law in Parliament anytime you want. You just ignore it and you go.
Or in big business or the bank community. You just have to rely on deferred prosecution, of course.
Yes, deferred prosecution. Kenny H., welcome to the Facebook world right here. We would like to thank Lisa Elkins G. I'm not sure if we should be putting out their whole name or not, so I'm going to use their acronym for that one. Robert N. is on there all the time, but he's a bit of a tinfoil hat wearer. Kendra Bree C. Brought out this stuff from Quebec, which is absolutely awesome. And make sure you get onto our wall and bring us the news. Challenge what we're saying. We're never going to bring out a commercial that says, trust us. Because we don't have to.
We don't do propaganda. No. That's up to the government.
Yeah. Speaking about the government bringing us propaganda, let's check something out.
Government advertisements like this are well known to Canadians. However, what is unknown to many is that the government overspent on its cabinet-approved ad budget by a whopping $128 million, much of which went to promote its so-called Economic Action Plan. Adding insult to injury, the government has spent much of this taxpayer money on such ads in recent months, even though the government themselves declared their Economic Action Plan over back in March. Analysts say that, in effect, the Harper government is telling the Canadian people that there should be cuts to healthcare, childcare and education, but that it is okay for the government to spend millions of tax dollars on advertisements for a government initiative that no longer exists.
So, you know what, to be honest, you spend millions of dollars on an economic action plan, why aren't you spending on teachers, education? That's one of the most important things, because we're not going to boost our economy or our GDP until we have people educated, working and getting stuff done.
The Harper government maintains that the taxpayer-funded messaging is necessary so the public are aware of their opportunities. But critics demand tangible economic change in Canada rather than embellished statements such as those contained on the Economic Action Plan website.
Obviously, it would be better if hospitals, roads, and improving something that's will get business going and will get, public services better.
I believe Harper needs to be removed as soon as possible. He has committed treason in the eyes of Canadian citizens, and the only people that support him are people who are in high corporate positions who are getting tax cuts. But you ask anybody that's on the lower lines of the system that's fighting to put food on their table, and they'll tell you Harper is not the man for this country. I think that he needs to be brought accountable for his actions.
Critics say that the Harper government's economic action plan more or less begins and ends with the costly advertisements. Such critics note that the Harper government is ideologically averse to genuine New Deal-style economic recovery programs that might actually improve the lives of working-class Canadians. Joshua Blakeney, Press TV, Calgary.
So remember that to ignore 1 in 5 Canadian children going hungry, the Harper government spent $120 million more than anticipated to bring you commercials that say they're improving the economy
when they're not.
Just flat out. Okay?
Yeah.
They haven't done a thing except lay people off and defeat unions. That's that's their action plan.
Have they lowered interest rates so banks can borrow at a lower rate as well?
Well, but don't tax the banks.
No.
My friend, Mr. Rick Mercer, who's a close personal friend of mine.
As you know, you cannot turn around these days without seeing a commercial for Canada's Economic Action Plan. And they all feature actors dressed up like carpenters and truckers and firemen, and they're all saying that the government is doing a really great job. They're like the Village People, except, you know, they're really into conservatives. And all the ads end by saying, for more information, visit the Economic Action Plan website. So finally, after about 600 times, I finally snapped and I went to the website. And what's on the website? The same ad telling me to visit the website that promotes the website that I'm already on because I went to the website. It's like some sort of horrible, nonsensical circle of hell. It's enough to give you a migraine. And speaking of which, it now turns out the government is spending $26 million over 3 months promoting the Economic Action Plan, despite the fact that the program is now over. It's gone. It's done. This is like McDonald's spending $26 million telling us they used to sell pizza. Except McDonald's would never do that because it doesn't make any economic sense and they have shareholders who would revolt. So why is the government spending all this money promoting a program that's now over? Apparently it's designed to make us feel good at our own expense. Literally because we're the ones picking up the tab. We are paying to be self-medicated here. In case of election, watch this ad. You want an action plan? It would be cheaper for the government to send every Canadian over the age of 18 a Percocet with instructions to swallow 2 hours before voting. At least then we'd get something for our money, the headache would go away, and we could finally watch TV in peace.
I love it with Rick Mercer. Coming back, we are going to be talking about a Nobel Peace Prize gone wrong. We're talking about a lot of stuff. Hang around. Radio Free Canada. We'll be right back.
I've done no harm, I keep to myself. There's nothing wrong with my state of mental health. I like it here with my childhood friend. Here they come, those feelings again. Who can it be now? 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 Is it the men come to take me away? Why do they follow me? It's not the future that I can see. It's just my fantasy. Yeah!
wait, we're back. Hang on. Welcome back, Radio Free Canada. We're sitting here going, holy smokes, we got so much to do. We are expanding, and we're asking you for good people to interview on the air. Last Friday, we talked to Kevin Proto from localssupportinglocals.ca or .org. Make sure you get on there and talk to Kevin. We're going to be getting him in studio here pretty quick and talk about how you can help your community just by getting involved with each and other's businesses.
Exactly, because we have to support each other so we can make this a better place for everybody.
Yeah, it's not just supposed to be one specific group of bankers making money out there. It's got to be for everybody, and that's why we are a part of the program. And, of course, we're here to make sure that we smile. We have to smile a lot because the international theater, great propaganda amongst countries to try and contain their viability, the Nobel Peace Prize got hijacked and made everybody shake their head.
This is in the realm of what the...
What the, WTF, because the Nobel Peace Prize used to stand for something, but you be the judge.
We return now to our top story of the Nobel Peace Prize being awarded to the European Union. For more on the decision, we're joined by host of the Kaiser Report, Max Kaiser. Max, thanks for joining us. Now, the EU has won for its role in uniting the continent, but at a time of rising separatism and the economy in a slump. How do you explain that?
Well, this is the rise of the machines. This is a machine selection that chose a machine. The EU is a technocracy governed by machines, joined with the banking establishment to suck wealth from all of the citizens of the EU and send it to Brussels and send it to the banksters and send it to the World Bank and the EU and the Troika. This is the rise of the machines. This was a machine choice. It's farcical. I mean, they could have given this Nobel Prize to Bill Clinton's left testicle and it would have been more legitimate than giving it to a technocratic monstrosity. This is like giving the prize to Frankenstein for being the best monster created during the past 12 months. Where do they go from here? Who are they going to give it to next? I mean, they're going to give it to a genetically modified seed in India where farmers are killing themselves by the thousands because of companies like Monsanto. Give it to Monsanto next year, Nobel Committee. I mean, your track record for giving this prize to warmongers, banksters, and corporate fascists is becoming quite impressive.
Max, will this award give any kind of economic boost to the union and sort of help it out of the pit that it's in?
No, absolutely not. The European Union, they want to create a new super bank, take the power from the ECB, run it out of Brussels, and impose a new debt for junk scheme, rolling up all the toxic debt into a new super European central bank to impose more austerity and to pilfer more money from the citizens. The direction that this is going is absolutely catastrophic. Christine Lagarde, I'm sure she'll get the Nobel Prize next year for having caused another 100 million people to go into poverty and another few, 100 people committing suicide. Let's give it to Christine Lagarde. She's a warmongering, genocidal maniac. Give her the Peace Prize.
Now, how do we then balance the Peace Prize with the EU's intervention in Libya? I mean, EU members on the ground and in Iraq and Afghanistan, and its support for the armed opposition all in Syria. How do you go about doing that?
Look, there's only one contender for the Peace Prize this year, and that's Julian Assange. The fact that he did not win this prize will be an eternal stain on the Nobel Committee. No one has done more to push peace than Julian Assange. He should be getting this award from this committee. The fact that they turned to a bunch of machines and technocrats in the EU is an embarrassment. They should go back to making dynamite, which is the Nobel Prize Committee. That's how they got started. Go back making dynamite and forget about this Peace Prize. You're illegitimate. You've embarrassed yourselves. Just fold. You commit suicide for a change instead of encouraging people in Greece to commit suicide.
All right, Max, thank you. Host of the Kaiser Report there, Max Kaiser, with his thoughts.
And that's exactly what's happening. With banks in charge of the monetary system, we do have a very big crisis around the world. We played an awesome clip on Friday's show talking about austerity.
Yes.
A few of those things that Mark Fiore puts out. We're going to play another one in a little bit, talking about the way that banks, they make money,
up out of nothing.
They make money up out of nowhere. And you know what? Germany just voted to make a huge chunk of coin up out of nowhere to buy the rest of Europe that they made bankrupt.
Well, they did lose the First or Second World War, the first one too.
Boy, that must have been a kicker. They must have hated that.
But I'm not sure the Second World War ever actually ended.
Now, if you take a look at it, and yes, we say it all the time, fractional reserve lending is what you start looking up on the internet as part of your search engines. And make sure you look up the way banks make money up out of nowhere and the way charging interest ensures bankruptcy for everyone.
And forever.
Okay. You know, it's a system that's designed to fail. I pointed it out to some guys that we were talking to on City Park who said, have you ever heard about a good time within the finances for the last 15 years? Have you ever heard about big upswings and, major prosperity happening? Because as soon as we get jobs, boom, they're gone.
Not since the 80s that I can remember.
But we're getting back to it again, and it's why we're promoting Municipal Sustainability right here in Kelowna. We delivered a letter and a fairly lengthy introduction into alternative government to City Hall. We've heard nothing back.
Well, that was the expected reaction.
So we're going to move with Phase 2 coming up this week. Make sure you stay tuned to Radio Free Canada as we get ready and start releasing Municipal Sustainability and alternative government.
But first, more on this ill-advised action from the European Union.
This morning we learned that the European Union has won the Nobel Peace Prize.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided that the Nobel Peace Prize for 2012 is to be awarded to the European Union.
Now, with us now is someone who I know would like to offer his congratulations, the leader of UKIP, Nigel Farage. Here is your opportunity to congratulate them on winning that prize.
Yeah, astonishing, isn't it? And I suspect that the Nobel Prize itself will be brought into disrepute by this. I mean, look, just a few days ago, Angela Merkel went to Athens to be greeted with Molotov cocktails, a violent demonstration, and almost unbelievably, people dressed up in Nazi uniforms. What we're seeing is a Europe being divided from north to south by the Eurozone. And the Germans are being rude about the Greeks and vice versa. So we're seeing actual disharmony caused by this project.
So peace breaking out everywhere. And it will defend this prize.
The European Union is an MEP, so he should go and accept this award on behalf of the European Union.
Would you go and accept it, Nigel Farage?
I think I'd struggle to accept that one. No, it'll be Mr. Van Rompuy or Barroso.
He's also a friend of yours.
I get on terribly well with all of them. The one thing you can be certain of is that the person that picks up this award will be somebody who is unelected and committed to the abolition of democracy in the nation states of Europe.
But it's a poor... I mean, how could they have done it? It really devalues... The Nobel Prize has always been looked up to. It really devalues the currency. I mean, honestly, what a lot of tossers.
Is there anything that can be said? Is there anything... I have to apologise for Sue's language. Yes, I even missed that.
This is 50 years too late. If they'd given it when the Treaty of Rome was signed in 1957, saying you're going to solve your problems at the conference table, not on the battlefield, as David Cameron said yesterday in his First World War speech, great. But the problem is there have been some disasters since then. What happened in Europe's backyard? The war in the former Yugoslavia. Yeah. It took the United States bombing Bosnia to get the Serbs to the Dayton conference table, not the European Union.
Isn't the lesson, Nick, of Yugoslavia, that if you artificially try and bring people together and impose a new flag and nationality on them without consent, it actually leads to civil war. And tragically, the European Union is doing exactly the same thing. And Barroso was very clear last month. Nation-state democracy must go. It must be transferred to people like him. Fine, you can do that if the peoples of Europe want it, but there's no evidence they do.
But Nigel Farage, isn't it an attempt to sort of say, look, the peoples of Greece and Spain and Ireland and Portugal, to use the pigs, actually want to stay in the euro, and this somehow will help them along that way psychologically?
Listen, it won't make any difference to the economics, and it's noticeable that it wasn't the Nobel Prize for economics, because they certainly wouldn't have got that under any circumstances.
Do we get any of it, the prize money?
Well, I don't know what will happen to it.
I heard it was going to be divided up. If you divide it up across people of the nation states, you get but 0.002.
But I mean, think of all those underpaid bureaucrats in Brussels.
Yes.
I mean, they could do with some help.
Or what about they could use the money to help pay off my fine, having been rude to Herman Van Rompuy.
How much was that fine?
€3,000.
3,000 euros?
Yes,
have you paid it?
I have, just for saying that the chap had the charisma of a damp rag.
Well, you won't say, oh, don't say it again, you'll be fined again, although you haven't said it in the Parliament, and you're enjoying this all far too much. That's all for today.
I like this guy.
Yeah, Nigel Farage, I see him stand up at the European Union and just berate them.
And you know, the fact that the European Union got the Nobel Peace Prize shows you how desperate they are to hang on to power. The European Union crumbling right now as we speak. All the governments are maintaining their own currencies. They're abandoning the IMF. And there's a reason why. That it just creates poverty.
Yeah, I know.
No matter where the IMF goes, they create poverty. The European Union fitting into that whole big chunk. But start doing your analysis. Question us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand the Peace Prize, but it doesn't seem it's very peaceful in Europe these days.
Oh, yes. Yes. It's so peaceful there. If you look at the CBC or Global, it looks like everything's hunky-dory. Greece has never stopped rioting. Italy now. Spain from one end to the other.
Portugal. Paris.
Okay. Ireland hasn't stopped. Okay. But none of this on major news.
And nobody's talking about, Scotland is talking about seceding from the UK.
Yeah. Just saying straight out, that's it. We're done. And if that happens, Braveheart is us. We will be there to make sure we drum in the new Scottish. You know, so because they got to declare independence, man. That's got to be done over there. Okay, but we do not believe in a new world order, and we certainly know that it's going in the wrong direction no matter how you look at it. But one of the things that we do here is smile. Let us smile for a minute. I need an update on the weather.
Hello, everyone. I want to take a few moments of your time to apologize for an on-air incident in which I was involved several weeks ago.
Pippa, I'll just stop you right there. There's really no need.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, potential advertisers, we're proud to announce a new segment.
She's hot, she's crazy, like the weather. Oh, weather with Pippa.
They're all yours, Pippa. Give them heck.
Okay. Let's do this. Last week was the equinox, so we're officially into fall. But for most of the lower 48 U.S. states, there's still no relief from the ongoing drought that has crippled farms nationwide. The last time it was this bad was the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. Those regions are where most of the nation's corn and soybean crops are grown. And since 40% of the corn crop is turned into ethanol fuel, there's now a real likelihood of food shortages. This is serious. Already in some areas, farmers have no corn for their cattle, so they're giving them miniature marshmallows and gummy worms just so they can get enough calories to stay alive.
Whoa! Sounds like those cows are living the sweet life.
The point is, when grain prices rise, mathematical models actually show a correlation with social instability. This drought is literally putting some of the most vulnerable regions of the world at risk of widespread hunger, even food riots. That's the reality of a changing climate, and it's happening now. Not 100 years from now, not 10 years from now, this week!
Well, thank you, Pippa. Clearly, we all need to mend our ways. I, for one, will be trading in my Escalade for a hybrid following the broadcast. In other news...
It's a bit late for that. What we need are powerful leaders, like presidential candidates who are willing to acknowledge the issue. Then, we need global leadership on policy solutions. Did you just cut my mic out? Again? Seriously?
In other news, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the cleanest fuel of all? The answer may surprise you. It's coal.
What?
In a new study by coal industry experts, burning coal is actually found to make your lungs cleaner than those of newborn kittens.
And that's one of the major reasons why I love working around here. For all those global naysayers out there, get a grip.
Yeah.
I mean, like, holy smokes, global warming is real. It's caused by oil. We could fix it. And that's why we've got municipal sustainability on our mind, a way to get your municipal area off the oil grid.
Yeah, I know, because, I mean, it's just, aren't they addressing this in the higher echelons of power?
Yeah, I know.
Isn't global warming kind of a national security issue?
Just before the break here, let's take a look at the one of the other news stories that they're ignoring. Fukushima has been in the news, but there's one thing that people just don't know about it, that they could have avoided the entire disaster altogether. Make sure you get the news on this, and let's take a look. You be the judge.
It's an admission that contradicts everything the company has maintained so far, that Japan's nuclear disaster could actually have been avoided. In a report released by the Tokyo Electric Power Company, which runs the Fukushima nuclear plant, it found that, when looking back on the accident, the problem was that preparations were not made in advance. It feared that if tsunami risk studies were disclosed, that it would lead to immediate plant shutdown. And there was concern that if new severe accident measures were implemented, it could spread concern in the siting community that there is a problem with the safety of current plants. The company also said it feared legal and political consequences if it highlighted that accident measures were needed. TEPCO had always insisted it was prepared for the tsunami disaster in March of last year, but this report also criticizes the emergency response, citing a lack of expertise and confusing orders from company headquarters and the Office of the Prime Minister.
This comes on the back of actually several issues. One is that recently about 90% of the Japanese populace have indicated that they are against nuclear energy in Japan. And in addition to that, there is the popular perception as well that there was too much of a cozy relationship or collusion between plant operators and also the regulators, which enabled this type of lax environment to arise whereby the disaster occurred.
There are now far more stringent safety laws in place as a result of last year's disaster. But the Fukushima plant is not alone when it comes to not being adequately prepared. The European Commission released a report earlier this month where it found that practically all the 130 active nuclear reactors in Europe need safety overhauls at the cost of around $32 billion. The Fukushima plant will now be dismantled, but it's estimated that the cleanup will last decades and cost Japan billions of dollars. All the people of the area will also need to be compensated. And now it seems all of it was entirely preventable. Stephanie Decker, Al Jazeera.
And you know, that's one of those stories that you just don't see on major news.
There you go, another example of industry regulating itself and doing such a fine job of it.
More on this coming up right after the break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Radio Free Canada.
The month of May, I guess you say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? I'm talking about my girl. I've got so much honey, the bees envy me. I've got a sweeter song than the birds in the tree. I guess you'll say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? I'm talking about my girl.
Going back with the real vinyl vault, the Mamas and the Papas, the greatest hits album. Oh man, I'm loving it. It's,
well,
you know
that's
what?
when music was music, you know?
Yeah, vinyl just sounds better too. You can hear it here. Last week we had a record that started skipping. I couldn't believe that. That was awesome. Right there, talking about news that you don't hear about. CBC, CHBC totally missed the ball that Fukushima could have been avoided if they would have done the test.
Yeah, but you know, they would have failed the test if they had done the test. So that would have
the guy
cost
explains.
money.
Yeah, the guy explains. We didn't run the test because we knew we would fail the test. So the test weren't run, but we weren't safe. It would have shut down the nuclear plant.
Nice to see that industry is so good on taking care of what needs to be taken care of.
Because industry can regulate itself. Let's take a look at this. This is cool.
This is bad. This is bad. That's what operators at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant said after the facility was hammered by an earthquake and tsunami last year. 3 of the plant's reactors would soon suffer a meltdown, triggering the biggest nuclear disaster in Japanese history. Now the company that owned the plant, TEPCO, says all of that could have been prevented. A new internal report reveals the company didn't do enough to protect the plant from tsunami threats, and that it botched efforts to prevent the meltdown. It marked a stunning reversal by TEPCO, which for months had said the disaster was unavoidable. Dale Klein, former head of America's nuclear watchdog, oversaw the report.
The first stage is denial. Second stage is probably blame others. I think it just took a while for it to really soak in that they understand they blew it.
The meltdown forced 150,000 people to flee the area and left TEPCO with so much debt it had to be nationalized.
Once again, just like our corporate banks getting bailed out right here in Canada in 2008, which, by the way, Harper lied about, we saw that the good Japanese people had to absorb the power company's debt.
Yeah, of course, it got nationalized.
So how on earth, you know, corporations profit, they keep the money for themselves. Corporations fail, we pay for them. Same thing happening over in Japan. Absolutely amazing.
Same thing happening in Europe, too.
You know, and it's insulting what's going on. Of course, CHBC and AM 1150 not carrying the fact that we bailed out our own banks in Canada, and you're paying $3,400 for the right to have them profit from your misery. And that's an awesome right.
Oh,
wow,
that's
I'm
an awesome
so happy.
Yes. Well, it's nice when they privatize the profits and socialize the losses.
There you go. That's the way it goes.
But that's capitalism, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Harper way.
Yeah,
it is.
And the American way, too. And, of course, America's biggest industry is war.
And that warfare is coming under fire. We can see empire building everywhere, even if CBC can't. And, you know, the Pakistani people, they have every right to get up and protest. Another story that you don't hear on mainstream news.
No, because, you know, the war on terror is going so well.
Yes, it's
most people are pretty damn terrified of the war on terror.
Yes, I'm terrified as we speak right now. I'm shaking from the possibility of terrorist action.
Because they could get you at any time.
Yeah, I know.
Not like a drone strike.
In response to U.S. predator drone strikes, former cricket player turned Pakistani politician Imran Khan and a convoy of anti-war protesters will set off on a march through Pakistan Saturday. Khan is calling the two-day rally a peace march, and according to the BBC,
he hopes the march will be, as he says, a game changer that will force the government here and the government in the United States to re-examine the use of drones.
The U.S. has launched more than 300 drone strikes, which have killed over 2,500 people in Pakistan in the last 8 years, according to the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. Khan calls these attacks a crime against humanity and adds, the whole world will be told how drones are destructive and counterproductive through this march. But some say Khan's rally, which will begin in Islamabad and end in South Waziristan, might be a dangerous idea. Al Jazeera notes the Pakistani Taliban, a common target of drone strikes, and a group that calls Khan a slave of the West, have threatened to attack the protesters. Ahead of the march, local media carried reports of alleged suicide bombings planned against the demonstrations, and a pamphlet distributed in a town along the march route warned participants they would face danger. The group has also suggested that Khan might be leading the march to support his own political agenda. The Guardian quotes the Pakistani Taliban saying, Imran Khan's so-called peace march is not in sympathy for drone-hit Muslims, but only to increase his political popularity. Local officials have so far refused to protect the marchers, but haven't ruled out intervention in the name of public safety. For Newsy, I'm Neville Miller. Multiple sources, the real story.
And it's so nice to see a former Nobel Peace Prize winner
actually standing up for
Bobby
peace.
the crap out of Pakistanis.
Has been standing up for their right to bomb and kill anybody that they want. Just sign a paper and off you go. That's Obama.
Isn't tomorrow Terror Tuesday where they get the list out and decide who they're going to kill?
Oh, it is too.
Yes.
All right, on. Get that list out there, boys. Prove you're a civilization by dealing with things democratically and diplomatically. Oh, wait, no. That's not what they stand for.
Unless he's busy campaigning.
Right now, there is what we call the presidential reality show going on. And on the presidential reality show, we've seen nonsense from nonsense to nonsense. Okay? Look on CHBC, look on CBC, type in the name Ron Paul.
Yeah, where is he in all this?
Okay, you'd think the guy didn't even exist. There are 5 people running for president right now. Apparently, there's only 2, though.
How about Kerry Johnson or the lady from the Green Party?
People
that really are proposing real ideas to change the status quo.
Not one story.
Well, they don't even get to debate.
So these guys are, they don't even get in the debate. They don't get on the national platform. It's offensive at best, but it does show us plainly and simply democracy is a joke. We just need to replace this system like they did in Iceland.
Yeah.
Okay? They did it, and they didn't suffer for it, and that's the reality.
There is a way to rewrite your government.
Yeah, and we're all about that. Alternative government is what we're talking about here at Radio Free Canada, and we urge you to stay with the winning team because we're the guys who actually are going to be pushing for change, and that means real change. We're going to have to take a break.
Okay.
We are. So make sure you stick around with us and hang on. And I want you, if you're online and on YouTube right now, pay attention because this is an awesome musical break, a little bit something different, and we're going to come back and just talk about the elephant in the room. We'll be right back.
I'm Mitt Romney, and I approve this message.
Yeah, well, it's election time, and I'm just trying to keep what's mine. Picking the next president, we need someone from the 1%. Obama's out of control. Have you seen his latest opinion poll? He wants to raise taxes on the rich, but I'm about to make him my bitch. Hey, that's my money. Keep your hands up, Sonny.
I'm Mitt Romney.
We built that. He wants to tax and spend. Do want to consent. He can kiss my rear end. We built that. The first day on the job, I'll repeal Obamacare. Lower taxes on the rich, we'll create more job share. Reduce the deficit, and I ain't afraid to say it. I'm a millionaire. I'm wealthy and I know it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm wealthy and I know it. Yo, I got lots of green stashed away in an offshore screen. Made big bucks and bang, pay no taxes, it's a capital gain, what? And just a couple of caddies got me as a sugar daddy. I believe corporations are people, and gay marriage should stay illegal. Kicking back on my yacht, here's some food for thought. Better to have than to have not. I'm rolling in dough, but the economy's way too slow. Robbers man will make it all grow. We built that. I was born in the US and I'm totally legit. Not afraid to show my birth certificate. 47%, pay no income taxes. The lower classes. I'm wealthy and I know it. Yeah. Word. I'm wealthy and I know it. Yeah. Check it out. Flip, 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 flippity flop. Money, 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 got. Flip, 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 flippity flop. Money, 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 got. And I know it.
And you know you're working in the right place when that's the way you have your Mondays going. The fastest 2 hours in talk radio, talking about Mitt Romney. He's wealthy, he knows it, and we know it too.
Oh, what is his foreign policy? Are they having a debate tomorrow night? I think is the next presidential debate on foreign policy.
Yes. The presidential reality show goes on. Of course, CBC, CTV, and Global Canada will be all over that because 1 in 5 children is not going hungry in Canada today. Oh, no, wait, they are. Okay. Well, I mean, it's important what's going to happen down in the States because Well,
Well,
I don't know.
you know,
At any rate,
they are going to double down on their defense budget or triple down or something. You know, they need to be more bellicose.
yes, that's always important to make sure that you go and strut about the entire planet. Okay, peace and civilization is what we're talking about. They're not, but you know what? We've got lots of reasons to smile. The double standard is happening down in the United States right now. Is this what you want to do?
Yeah, we should talk about how
Okay.
now the U.S. is conducting itself in the world's eyes.
You elected me to tell you the truth.
Honesty is the best policy. Well, maybe not in U.S. elections.
2 words define why people hate America. Double standard. On everything.
This presidential election season, these 2 words are back in full swing. The basic definition of a double standard is a rule or principle unfairly applied in different ways to different people or groups. Let's find out if this is relevant to the U.S. election system. Respecting every single vote is key in a democracy. Yet, voter suppression is alive and well in the U.S.
Given the way that citizens are kept away from the voting booth by rules that are meant to keep away a certain segment of the population, we have a lot of nerve, frankly, criticizing other countries for the way they run their democracies.
From questionable voter ID regulations to shortened early voting time slots to gerrymandering or redrawing congressional district lines to favor a certain party, laws affecting voters' rights are passed left and right and vary state by state.
Do you have an Eric Holder?
This video shows how easy it is to attempt to steal Attorney General Eric Holder's vote when an ID is not required.
I actually forgot my ID.
You don't need it, it's all right.
Yet places that do ask for a government-issued photo ID can affect over 10% of Americans that simply don't have one.
There's an attempt to prevent large numbers of people from actually exercising the ballot.
Election monitors usually serve the purpose of keeping track of indiscrepancies. And while the U.S. likes to keep a close eye on the way elections are handled abroad,
We have the right to monitor other people's elections, of course, and if they don't do it, then clearly they're cheating, it's not democracy, it's rigged, it's a dictatorship, what the hell.
the need for monitors at home is vastly undermined.
When you're looking at an election where the votes are counted in public by humans, that's the kind of election that is possible to observe. There really is virtually no opportunity for international observation.
But the same goes for domestic observers.
Even the Carter Center, which goes abroad and does the great work of monitoring elections abroad, refuses to monitor U.S. elections on the grounds that they don't meet the basic standards of integrity.
When election ideals are not met elsewhere, criticism runs rampant.
Elections in Venezuela, elections in Iran, elections in Russia, the press will go to town on any sign that the outcome was fixed. You know, regardless of whether the evidence is sound, they'll just go crazy.
And while nitpicking abroad is all the rage, the elephant in the room remains unnoticed at home.
I promise you that the evidence that they use to scream and yell about the outcome in those countries is usually a whole lot weaker than the evidence of election theft in this country.
The good news, not all of the hypocrisy goes unnoticed.
Our policymakers, and to a great extent our media, and trickle down to the American people, they literally think that the rest of the world is stupid, that they don't see it, that everybody naturally has to admire us, that we're great, and it's not the case.
While obvious flaws are met with a deaf ear year in and year out, a flawed election process continues to be the first vote cast in the U.S. Anastasia Churkina, RT, New York.
So that's about the most amazing thing that I've seen, is that they won't even monitor their own elections because their own elections don't rise up to international standards.
Yeah, but they're the first to point their fingers at those, say, Venezuela and say, hey, that vote was corrupt.
It's like they don't have the internet. It's like Time Magazine. Don't you know we have the internet? I mean, come on. If you want to look up something very interesting, look up on the news about Time Magazine and the multiple covers that they had.
If you really want to look up something interesting, look up Operation Mockingbird.
Oh, yeah.
That's the CIA control of the American press.
Say it's not so. I don't believe the CIA could try to control the press. Well, actually, we see it all the time. We got a reason to smile right here, okay? And thanks a lot for having us over. You know, it was really cool hanging out with you. Of course, we have a really big show coming up on Friday and then Monday again, because we got to catch up to a lot of these news stories.
Yes, we do. We got to do kind of makeup show, I think is what we got to do.
And let's see if anybody catches up to the oil spill misnomer that I made.
Oh, yeah.
In the first hour.
Yeah.
I said the oil spill in the wrong country. Let's see if that one gets straightened out.
Let's see who's paying attention. Yeah.
Okay, let's smile just to finish things off.
From the greatest inventor of all time comes Willard's World. It's a magical state of MIT, a truly wondrous place where airplane windows roll down, cars ride elevators, and horses dance. Unlike the windows of a modern flying machine, Willard Romney's fire-safe job-creating wealthonautic dirigible has windows that open. And when they're open, MIT smells the fresh, clean scent of optimism, which, well, magically cured the economy. Willard's World is a land of fantastical physics where you can choose your own tax rate. A land where you can call 47% of the citizenry shiftless moochers and still hope to win the presidency. A land where tax policy is made up of small mystical creatures. Peace is not something you worry about, and health problems are already solved through the miracle of emergency rooms. In Willard's World, who needs a supermarket scanner when you've got a whole world of wonder? And all the trees are the right height. Oh, the humanity is almost here. All you need to do is come fly the friendly skies of Willard's World.
In Willard's World, I approve all messages.
Thanks a lot for hanging out with us. It's been our privilege to bring you awesome reasons to smile. Yes, indeed.
Well, if you don't smile, you're going to cry, and nobody likes a whiner.
That's right. Work hard at change. Make sure you start waking people up around you, and when you get tired, rest for a little while. Remember, everything will still be here when you get back. We need you strong, we need you intelligent, and that's why we do what we do.
That's right. Coming up next week, or next broadcast, we'll be taking a look at the real elephant in the room that's really causing a problem in the Middle East.
We've got it. Information that you need. Make sure you stay tuned. This is Radio Free Canada, recorded at Guerrilla Radio Design Studios in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. You are free to transmit this as long as there is no monetary gain. So make sure you get out there and stay impressed with the world. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet. Remember, democracy starts with you. Get out there, get active, get involved. Tag, you're it.
Stay tuned. We've got it coming up Friday. Fantastic Friday.
Salad greens and fish go very well together. And they grow very well together, too.
We're talking about 10,000 fish. We're talking about 1 million pounds of food residue, 300, 400, 500 yards of compost. I want to know, how did you do that here? You know, how did you make that happen on these 3 acres?
We're growing this kind of stuff. We're the largest year-round producer in the state of Wisconsin, and maybe one of the largest in the Midwest, and we're a non-profit. So we're able to grow throughout the winter inside these greenhouses without heat by using the compost pile. On the one side, we've got 10,000 tilapia in there in warm water, and there's the heater that heats the water, that heats the entire greenhouse in the wintertime. And then we've got lake perch grown in cold water over here in this greenhouse. So we're taking, say, 3,000 square feet and turning it into 4,500 square feet of growing space by using vertical growing. We're able to grow these, and these fish runs. One pump operates this entire system. We lift water up, gravity takes it this way on both levels, and it drops back into the system.